All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. Do us a favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell for notifications, and participate in the conversation by commenting down below and upvoting the video itself. I'd appreciate it very much. So thank you for doing that. Now, we talked to Mike Huseman. He's going to come on the show tomorrow, I believe. He'll be on tomorrow. And we're going to talk transfer portal and targets and everything. And I'm like, hey, Mike, you need give me somebody to look at, because we're in the middle of this transfer portal reset in between the first wave and the second wave that is expected. Though it may not really come to fruition, we are expecting a second wave. Now, one thing that was interesting in the list that Mike gave me was the number of Texas A&M players that appeared on it. From Donnell Harris to Ish Harris to Marcus Burns, all of those names appeared on the list, and they fit Ole Miss's defense in different ways. So all of these freshmen, all of these have a ton of years to play. They're all freshmen, I believe, and they have a chance to be really good in the Ole Miss system. Okay, so at first is an edge player, Donnell Harris. He's the undersized guy. He's 6'3", 220. He probably is going to put on weight, or he can put on weight. I expect him to be in the 240 to 250 range. 6'3", decent length. He has a chance to be a decent pass rusher for whoever he ends up with. He's somebody that would fit what Ole Miss is doing on late downs. And if they do four-man stuff, he would grow into what would be a fairly perfect-sized 4'3", 4'25" defensive lineman, defensive end. Okay? The next player that we want to talk about is Marcus Burris. Another guy. He's going to be a sophomore, redshirt sophomore. He's from Texarkana. He's 6'4", 290. He's a big guy. He's one that would fit essentially one of the five techniques out in the three-man front, right? So you could potentially sign him, have Josh Harris or Xavier Harris in the middle, Marcus Burris on one side, J.J. Pegues on the other, and you've got some beef lining up in the front three with linebackers buzzing all around. It would be fantastic. Now, neither of these guys played very much for the Aggies. And I think that's important to know, because you do want people to get on the field, but if people are getting on the field at Texas A&M and transferring out, that would be a little bit concerning. But Marcus Burris is a guy that I think he would be a decent five technique on the outside, the 3-4 defensive end type position. And that would be interesting. The last person is Ish Harris from A&M. Okay? 6'2", 205 linebacker. He's a versatile guy, and in Ole Miss's defense, with those box safeties, there's a position for him in this hybrid role, because he honestly is a hybrid linebacker and a hybrid safety. And if you take that into account, what's going on with him, everything, and in our defense, everything, you would think that Ole Miss would be a pretty good fit. He's 6'2", 205. I expect him to get up to 215, 220 by the time it's all said and done. He's another one that is a freshman, or was. And if you check his stats, I don't know if he has any stats. I think he redshirted this year. So we'll see exactly what he can do. Ish Harris has a chance. He'd be a good fit of what he's doing at Ole Miss. And what you need to understand also, it's like Ole Miss and A&M. There's a lot of overlap, especially defensively. Well, with DJ Durkin at A&M, they run essentially the same defense. So if they're a fit for a defense at A&M, they would be a fit here, because there's some crossover between the two gigs. Like I said, three decent players, a lot of A&M. I think that we should keep an eye on it. Like I said, I got this information from Mike Huseman. He'll be on tomorrow. But he's an 11.9 player in the 100 meters. He ran a 23-second 200 meters. He is a really fast player, and he has a chance to be fairly dynamic defensively playing the ball. 4-star rivals, 3-star, 247 and ESPN for Ish Harris. So we'll see. Now, there's maybe too many Harrises on Ole Miss's side of the ball. I'll have to see what's going on there. But honestly, it's just something to keep in mind. I think these three guys would fit. They would do what we need them to do. Because remember, from earlier in this show, we talked about 2 minor tweaks that Ole Miss needs to do. And part of that is fixing the physics problem that is currently at the corner of the box of their defense. If you can do that weakness, if you can take away that weakness, you have a chance to be pretty good. Again, I think the 3-2-6 has a place in Ole Miss's defense. I do not think it needs to be the base defense. And if it's not going to be the base defense, you need to recruit or get transfers that can play and do other things. Because you don't want the same thing to happen this year that happened last year. And that physics problem leads to that. So fix the physics problem, do what you need to do. I honestly think it's the 3-3 stack. What TCU did against Michigan, that was a smash mouth team that TCU held up fairly well against Michigan the other night. Should be really interesting to see. Anyway, thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. It's Locked On Sports Today. It's available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. I do want to thank everybody, absolutely everybody, for turning in. We had a fantastic 2022. We look forward to an even better 2023. Our goal for 2023, 7,000 subscriptions on YouTube. We want to expand our merch. We want to do a remote broadcast during football season next year. And we want to add more perspectives to our channel. So if you have something to say and you want to have something to say, reach out to me. I'll put you on the air, and I'll put you on the air cold. I did that for Derek. I did that for Kara. I did that for Tom, and I did that for Tim. If you have something to say, I'll let you say it generally. You have to prove that you have something worth saying, though. And if you do that, we'll talk about everything. We'll have a good time. Anyway, tomorrow we'll start talking about Coach Yo. We'll start talking about Ole Miss and Alabama, which could be a little bit scary later in the week. We're going to have Tim Thomas to talk about that. We're going to have Derek to talk about college baseball season. And, of course, Kara and Tom, they'll be back and doing their normal stuff as well. Anyway, thank you for everybody for listening. We will see you tomorrow. Peace.